And that just goes back to, the ego says it's all about your reputation. So learn to get a good reputation, learn to get people to like you. It's why people have such a problem with politics and political people, because they're consistently out there just trying to, whatever group they're talking to get them to agree with them, and then they say something different, and there's no meaning and power in them. The question becomes, is having ambition something that you don't want to have? When people read the Tao Te Ching, they often say, I don't have to do anything. I'll just sit back and let it all happen, and whatever happens, it's almost like a prescription for being lazy and listless and so on. And I don't see it like that at all. I see the morning of our life, or the ambition time of our life, in which we are being taught certain kinds of things that really revolve around being a good citizen, fitting in, getting into the right schools, getting the right kind of jobs, and all of this. For women, for example, very often what women are taught, young girls are taught, is about the important role that they are to play in their life, is really about being a good family member, fitting in with your family. Your families teach this particularly. Being a good sister, going to the, being a good sibling, I should say, and going to all the right family events. This is a responsibility that you have. You have to show up at Thanksgiving dinner, and you have to, be there for Christmas, and you have to learn to honor your mother and your father, and to be a good daughter, and ultimately to your real goal is to get a husband and to have children, and to and then to raise them and train them to be all of these things. There's nothing in this world wrong with this. All right, this is like, if this is all generally speaking in the morning of your life, something that we just buy into. Most people just buy into it because it just seems. There are a few that don't. The few that don't are what I call scurvy elephants, and that's a phrase that I got from when I lived in a foster home out in Mount Clemens, Michigan, and actually a small orphanage. And I came home from school, and I asked the lady who ran, her name was Mrs. Scarf. I said, "What's a scurvy elephant?" And she said, "Where did you hear that?" I said, "Well, I heard my teacher, my third grade teacher's name was Mrs. Poole, and she was talking to the principal outside of the classroom. And she said Wayne Dyer was in her classroom and that he was a scurvy elephant." And so Mrs. Scarf called on the telephone and asked the principal what that meant. And she said, "Oh, that's Wayne. He gets everything mixed up." She didn't say that he was a scurvy elephant in her classroom. She said that he was a disturbing element in her classroom. And so a disturbing element, or a scurvy element, that's the term that I've used for as long as I can remember. It's an old Wayne story that is told about me. Is that there are some people who have a sense of who they are and what they're going to be, and they really are very early in their life independent of the good opinion of other people. I was one of these people. I grew up really having a knowing inside of me about how to do certain kind of things and how I was going to live my life and how to make money even as a little boy in an orphanage, and how to make things happen, and how not to be worried about what everybody else thinks of you. I came in with that. I just seem to have a knowing about that. The stories I can remember of myself being back there in those earliest days of my life were.
It sounds like ambition.
It was ambition, but there was always a part of me that knew that there was something more to this, that it wasn't really about making money. It was more about me being able to prove that I could attract abundance into my life any way that I wanted to, at any time that I wanted to. And it was really quite a simple procedure. I used to have fun with that. And all through my teenage years, and all through the years when I was in the service, and even in college, I was always sort of internally applying this concept of this is what everybody else has to do, and this is how they have to do it, but I don't go there. I don't go there. So I'll sort of follow along and fit in, but there's a part of me in here that is feeling, I don't have to be a part of any of this. So with this ambition thing, it's a lot of misinterpretation around this, and you have to be really careful when we speak about this, because I gave a talk about this not too long ago, and I had some people come back and say, are you saying that, that there's nothing meaningful, nothing purposeful in, being a good mother, raising your children, having a good and all of these kind of things? And I'm not saying anything even close to that. I'm saying that there's a shift that generally takes place within us. When it happens, I can just give you like really general guidelines. It usually happens in the early 30s, somewhere between 31 and 33. It's very, very general, where there becomes some kind of a shift takes place inside of us, in men and women, in which you begin to, there's a famous song, Is That All There Is? Remember the song, Is That All There Is? You don't even remember that. You get out there, I mean, I can tell, even in my own life, I can remember, that the important things for me early in my career, even into my 30s and 40s, were, how many books was I selling? And was I on the bestseller list? And how much money was I making? And not only did you get on the Tonight Show, but how many times were you on? Because being on more times than somebody else was always more. There's no way to ever win in this kind of thing. And I can remember thinking about that. And those were, they became more important. They weren't the sole reason for my writing. My writing always came from something deep inside of me in here. But the reasons for doing it, the truth is that there was a lot of that was about ambition. It was about how many weeks can you stay on the bestseller list. It's about how many books can you have in the first printing, how many can you sell, and so on. And that kind of a focus is there. And then something happens within me where I began to realize that just didn't matter anymore. That was basically when my writing made the shift into meaning, as well as my life made the shift into meaning. And so that my earliest books were written about psychology, about self-help, about your erroneous zones, pulling your own strings, sky's the limit. These were all books that were focused on how to use the field of psychology, the field of self-development, and so on, and turn these books into manuals that can help other people to change their lives. A shift took place inside of me that all I can say is it was almost overnight, and I could no longer write about that any longer. And it didn't make any difference how much money I was going to make or what position I was going to be on the bestseller list or whatever. It was like I began to feel that I was no longer to write about psychology, but I was going to write about spirituality and about how spiritual messages can really impact a person's life.